the end, but they did good. They played it, I think, a little better than maybe expected.
Good.
And so I think they showed them they have a shot. Have a good season. Cool. Franklin High School.
Hi, that's right. Hi, I'm Karen.
Hi, Karen. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
You started up with Karen. I just was chatting with Tyler.
Oh.
So it's good for her now. Join you.
What did you see from your outfit in the first game? There was a lot of throwing, but did you like, how they approached the game, how they kind of complemented in the running game, blocking, running routes and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they did, in terms of, say, the run game, they did everything that was expected of them to do, which I think allowed us to get some good runs. They were physical, they were clocked in that way, which was nice. In the pass game, the opportunities we had, we took advantage of them when they came to us. And our guys understand that each game is always going to be a little bit different. Sometimes there's more throws to us than in one game to the next. But for the opportunities they had, I thought they did a good job and they played a pretty solid game overall.
How much have you seen the unit grow each and every day?
Yeah, they've done a nice job that way. Going back to the spring, we made an emphasis about that, just daily improvement and always, picking one thing, each day to put your focus on, whether your fundamentals, your route running, whatever it is. And I think collectively as a group, the tide has risen and they've done a good job overall. They push each other, they're competitive with each other. It helps everybody play a little bit better.
How much do you enjoy the challenge of a week-to-week game plan and what it can do for your group? You know what I mean, as far as last week versus possibilities of this week?
Yeah, I like it. I feel like that's got to be something that we always keep our eyes on is always just treating one game as its own individual entity and saying, well, okay, what do we need to do this week to be successful? And then once that game's done, get on to the next one. I think that's an important part of game planning as opposed to just saying this is what we're going to do every single week. And I think that can get stale as the year goes on for everybody. And so having kind of like a fresh look at it week to week, I think is important.
Tyler, how important is it with Taekwondo? I'm remembering the play early in the second half from the Cincy game where you guys took a shot at him deep, but it wasn't completed. But how important is it just to work those types of plays into your offense just to help the entire group and maybe soften up defenses that you've seen?
That's an important thing. I mean, when you have a guy that's fast like Taekwondo, you want to utilize that speed for one and take shots, get an opportunity for a big play. And sometimes, those deep down the field throws, they're a lower completion percentage, obviously, than something that's shorter. But what it does is it impacts, everybody on the field. It opens up the underneath game. It makes the defense have to honor that, and so they can't play so tight to the line of scrimmage or like sit on routes quite as much. And so his speed element definitely brings a lot to the table.
Do you use the terminology like love of the game route? Like I've heard that before. It's like you're probably not going to get the ball here, but we need you to threaten somebody. Is that a factor in your offense, and how does he do specifically with those if you do that?
Yeah, I've heard that term. We don't usually use that as much, but the idea of there's times where the receiver's responsibility is to run vertical. We might get it, but mostly we're playing something out for somebody underneath. I mean, and everybody just has to understand, like, that's part of being a good team is that everybody fulfills a role, whatever it is, and sometimes you're the focal point, sometimes you're pulling people out of the zone for somebody else, and everyone usually as it evens out through the season, everyone gets a shot at replaying plays for themselves, and but there's definitely an element of taking the top off for somebody else to work underneath.
Is he cool with that? Is Taekwondo
He's a good team player. Yeah.
Tyler, I think for some people it was a surprise that DeMario wasn't used more in this game. Did you know that going in, like there was something in the Cleveland matchup that maybe this wouldn't be a week for him, or was it just sort of the way the game went for Jacoby and his reads?
I think it's just kind of how it developed as the game went on. We had a few things that where he was a part of like the primary, secondary part of the read, but maybe it got to the primary guy before it got to him. I think he's a guy that obviously we want to continue to utilize as the season goes on. He has a unique skill set. I think it's, as I said, it's probably more how the game went than anything else.
Do you anticipate teams paying more attention to him?
What did you like from his kind of first game there?
Yeah, he had some nice plays where he separated down the field. He has a really, I would say, fast play style. and so he's explosive at the top of the route, and he does a nice job in his route setup, so we can, make that move vertically past the defender. So yeah, he definitely showed some things that were positive, and he'll be certainly a guy that we'll continue to use and lean on as the season goes on.
Is that something where like he might be getting open, but it's late in the progression? Where this week you say, okay, maybe we should get him earlier in the progression, or maybe get him more involved?
Yeah, again, kind of going back to the earlier question, like, week to week, like you have a game plan, and as the game progresses, there's certain things that open up maybe that weren't, we didn't think they were going to be open up quite as much, or vice versa. Again, he's a guy that like we definitely want to continue to develop and work with, because he's showing that he can separate, and that's like one of the most important things for any receiver is, can you separate? And he is showing that he can do that pretty consistently.
During a training camp, it looked like Drake May was getting a lot of one-on-one work with guys like Polk after practice. Is that something that they've sustained now that you're in this kind of weekly schedule where it's so much game prep and focus on the ones?
Yeah, I mean, post practice, you always want your guys to get a little bit extra work after practice. That's at times they'll be doing that with Jacoby, and I know yesterday they were out there together with Drake and some of the receivers, getting a few extra reps. They did that last week. I think they'll always do that. I think that's an important part of just developing that chemistry, and I would assume that will continue going on.
How's Javon Baker looked in recent weeks? Obviously, we saw him all through training camp. We haven't really seen the practices in full to kind of get a good gauge or read on him. He seemed to start fast during training camp, and then he sort of hit a lull. Where's he at now, in your view?
Well, I would just say I think probably outside of quarterback, the hardest position to play as a rookie is receiver because of all the details. And so I think he's on schedule, in terms of his development and kind of in terms of where he's at. I think he's doing some good things. I think we'll see him more and more as the season goes on. I would think so. Obviously, he's got to continue to earn those opportunities, and when he gets them, he'll need to make something happen within those. But he's a guy that I think as the year goes on, we'll see a little bit more in him.
Was he a tough, healthy scratch? Like again, given what the receivers you put out there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So he, again, kind of you have your game plan, and you're just trying to think, how can we win this one game, and what are the best ways for us to do that? And so that made him inactive this particular game. But again, I think we'll see more of him as we go forward.
Are like hands something you can get more consistent with, or is it just like a gift that you have?
No, yeah, I mean, you should, as a receiver, you should be working on getting as many catches as possible, whether that's out on the practice field, just with, coaches throwing it to you, the quarterbacks, and then like the jugs machine, they should be getting, hundreds of catches really each work day. And the more catches they get, the better off they're going to be. So it's definitely a skill that can be improved as for a developing player.
How fluid do you feel like the depth chart in your receiver room is right now? Talking about Javon Baker, somebody who's trying to work his way back up to not being a healthy scratch. How much do you think that will shift over even the next 4 weeks or so?
I don't know the exact amount, how much it will shift, but I would just say it's going to be a competitive room every week, and I would think that that's going to be that way throughout the season. So what that means, like week to week, we'll treat, as I've said, kind of each week as its own individual entity, but it'll definitely be competitive every week, and that might mean more opportunity for one guy one week over the next, and we'll just do the best we can to put the best group out there that helps us win each week.
Tyler, sorry if you were asked this before, but I know you worked with Ryan Grubb last season. Is that something that you'll be able to help the defense with at all?
Well, I mean, I think our defensive coaches, they spend a lot more time preparing for Seattle's offense than of course I have on the opposite side of the ball. But I think throughout the league, I mean, a lot of guys know each other week to week, and so I mean, you're always asking, like, a former player, hey, what did you see when you were playing for this coach or that coach or whatever? I mean, so there's always that. It's part of it. But again, our defensive coaches certainly have worked on the game plan that I'm sure they'll feel good about.
Gerard named Kayshon Boutte one of the practice players of the week. What made him worthy of that distinction in your eyes?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, he always had just great presence the whole week. His role that he played was kind of like Jamar Chase. And so he ran all of Chase's routes. He gave us a great look in those routes. And one thing that I noticed with him, I mean, he was taking a lot of reps last week. I mean, run down the field, run all the way back. I mean, it's just his motor, you know, and just the tempo that he practiced at. This really kept the pressure on guys and helped like all the other, you know, practice players, scout players, like elevate their performance, because I think they saw him demonstrating good leadership and some intention to what he was doing. So he had a great week last week for us.
Coach, we saw on the film Jalen getting open quite a bit in the game last week. I don't know, like maybe a little bit of frustration it seemed like with him, like coming off the field some of those times. Just what do you say to him? Like the ball's gonna, you know, find you in future weeks. Like what's kind of the message there?
Yeah, you know, one big thing is, you know, it shows up on film that he's been separating, and the more you do that, the more that, like, I would think creates opportunities down the road here. He's just a great competitor, you know, and so I don't feel like there was any frustration or anything like that. It's just he just loves to compete. He loves to play football, and he works really hard at it. I mean, that's really, I think, probably what I saw anyway.
Yeah.
But he's a great separator, and he's going to keep working at that. And again, you know, good opportunities will come for him as we go down the road.
All right.
Good. Scott, I'm curious about left tackle. Obviously, Core 4 went to the bench, I think, after 12 snaps. What are you seeing there? What's not happening with him that maybe you thought would be at this point?
So Chooks has been a player in the league a long time. He's played, you know, for the most part, predominantly right tackle. So we've asked him to play left after some injuries, but you know, he's been working hard, trying to get improved every day, and I think, you know, he's going to continue to do that on that path, and he's asked to do that for us. As far as Vidarian, I think he did a nice job. There's some things that he's got to work on as well. So we're still evaluating as we go. We're looking at you know, putting the best 5 guys out there. That's kind of the reality of the situation.
Would you ever consider using Mike at left tackle?
Not at this point.
How content, just with all the questions about the offensive line going into the season, how rewarding was week 1, the fact you guys were able to kind of assert your will there on the line?
I think it was great for the players. I think you know, it was good to see some success for sure. I think that they know that they got to continue to get better. So that was one win, and obviously everybody's you know, was happy for the moment, but things change really quickly in the NFL. So it's just about getting back to work and trying to address issues that will become problematic as we go forward if we don't get them fixed. And that's just going to be a constant state of development for those guys, getting better, working together, solving issues, and just overall improvement.
There's a lot of pressure on Jacoby. Thanks, man. Was it more mental communication errors as opposed to like just physically? You know, obviously, we can see sometimes a guy physically just gets beat.
There's a number of reasons why quarterbacks get, you know, pressured. It's not always because someone got beat. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's an issue from a unit perspective. Sometimes it's individual, but that does happen. And but there's some issues we can certainly clean up on our side that we have to do, and that's something we're emphasizing every day.
Scott, I asked Alex this just before. Were you surprised at all how well you guys played and came together in week 1?
Surprised? I don't know if I'm surprised. I think that we think there's some things that we do well, and I think that there's some areas, like I said, there's more focus and emphasis on improvement than anything. But it's good to get a reward, and that's a win.
So there were some free runners like from the second level against the Bengals. Just on those plays, is that like communication? Like how would you kind of sort those out?
Well, definitely, you never want free runners. So when those things happen, they can either be a situation where you're hot based on scheme, or there's a misunderstanding or a miscommunication at one of the positions on the field. So those are things, again, that have to be addressed and cleaned up.
Coach, could you speak to the learning curve for rookies when it comes to dealing with line games and blitzes and maybe pressure packages they haven't really seen before?
It's a steep learning curve. They have to, you know, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot you see on tape each week. Each team presents different challenges, and as you go through the season, I think what you see is you know, the guys recognize like there's a high cost in a small margin for error. So for those guys, they have to learn continually and always be studying their opponents, and also just really studying themselves, because that's the issue there with regard to stunts and some of the pressures that you're going to see. You got to be aware of what these guys do, their patterns, and really most importantly, look at yourself, how you can fix those things.
So you said you want to find the best 5 on the offensive line. Are you content right now with Vidarian and Mike being your tackles?
Well, we're not ever content with you know, the way the guys are playing, because again, there's a lot of room to improve, as you guys know, and so there's no contentment in the room. that's about, we're never going to be content, I don't think, but I think right now we're just trying to fill in the gaps and figure out how we can get the maximum value out of each guy on this roster, and then also kind of so we can work, obviously to work together collectively and protect and
Scott,
run the ball.
David Andrews, what have you learned about him and his leadership ability since you've coached him here?
I love David Andrews. He's a special player, a really special person, and you know it when he's in there, and I think you know it when he's not in there, because I think DA is a true veteran. He's one of the toughest guys I've ever been around as a player and as a coach, and just an awesome guy and great for the room.
Coach, we saw Caden Wallace play as an extra tackle on the left and right side a little bit in the game. I'm just curious what that's like for you as a coach. Do you coach that like he's playing left tackle or right tackle, or is it like an extra tight end? Like, how do you sort of coach that spot?
Yeah, we asked him to play like a jumbo tight end or a muscle tight end role, and game plan specific opportunities will come up where we'll use guys like that in that role, and so Caden got a good opportunity and to kind of get his feet wet as a rookie, and he did a nice job.
What does it say about this team that you literally broadcasted your game plan to a sense going into that game? You're saying that it was going to be a ground, heavy kind of approach there, and you basically lived up to it.
I'm not sure what it was.
Well, to follow through with basically what you let the world know you were going to do. I mean, how rewarding is that?
Like I said, it's you have goals, but I think that ultimately, each week is different, and you're glad that you were able to follow through on what you said you're going to try to do. But from our perspective, our goal is always to be successful in both phases.
On David Andrews, how beneficial is it to have a guy like that in the room, given how many young guys and new additions there are on the offensive line?
It's huge. I think having someone with experience, who's got poise, who's obviously had great success in the league, who continues to play at a high level. He's seen a lot of things, and he's a good mentor for those guys, and he's just a great resource in the room. I think he does a nice job with those young players for sure.
Coach, the wide zone scheme seems like a really fundamental part of your offense. I know Ramondre wanted to get away from it.
What did you see from him, and how have you seen him grow and develop over the course of the summer?
Layden's been the same person every day he's walked in this building, and since he's gotten here, and I'm really impressed with Layden as a person. He's got some good traits that could make him a very good player, and he's utilizing those traits. I think that for him, like anything, you're a rookie. It's a difficult position to play, difficult sport to play as a rookie, number one, but offensive line play, with all the intricacies, it's challenging, and I think he's done a nice job thus far. But he knows there's a lot of room to grow, and that's just kind of come with experience.
Coach, what kind of?
I know you don't have any control over who makes the roster, but Michael Jordan was a guy who got released after final cutdowns, got back on the practice squad, and then started the first game and seemed to play well. Can you just talk about his summer and sort of what he's done for you guys?
Yeah, Michael Jordan, MJ is a consummate professional. He's he's been around the league. I know he's had some highs and lows in his career, but what really impresses me most is his approach and his professionalism. He works at everything, so he truly tries to do exactly what we want, and that's showing up big time for him.
I'm curious, Scott, when it comes to the Seahawks defense and their pass rush in particular, how would you describe what they do well?
Well, they're a talented bunch. They have. They're loaded with talent, and they have a good scheme. The scheme they bring from Baltimore, it's always challenging. I was around that every year when we played the Ravens. So you've got a couple things to worry about. You got the big, the really quality rushers that they bring in the front, and then you have the scheme to understand and master as well. So it's a big challenge for our unit.
When it comes to the scheme part of it,
Two more questions, guys.
Gerard said yesterday that they will do a lot of things that are sort of similar to what the Patriots defense does. Does having seen the Patriots defense in training camp and maybe some of the different looks, not sure who's rushing, who's not, who's dropping into coverage, does that help for a week like this for you guys?
It does help. It helps you understand, but I wouldn't say that they're exactly the same or anything. But there's always going to be some parallels and similarities. The way people pressure, the way people stunt, some of the alignments in the formation. Some of the ways that they will get after the quarterback are similar. But I think for us, it's like you gotta, as you go through, as you build continuity, and you start to see all these different patterns, you see these things come up around the league. So I think for our guys, just the more they see, the more exposure they get, the more they learn, you can kind of, and hopefully you grow from those things each time.
Scott, I know Alex obviously is in charge of play calling, but what role on game day do you have? Any feedback about what you're trying to accomplish, what's working, what's not? Can you just take us inside that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's an open communication the whole game. We're always looking, if you see something, say something, communicating on the run game, talking about protection and breakdowns where they exist, and just kind of looking at the holistic approach to the offense. So there's definitely open lines of communication.
How is he receptive to that? I'm sure, what's the feedback from him once you share what you've seen?
He's great. He's awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
A lot of fun doing it, and he's really not limited into what he can do. He can catch, he can block, make guys miss, run through guys, run around guys.
Do you have any concerns about the workload? Obviously, a lot of touches.
Yeah. And so I'm coming from a system last year with Brees where we had to bounce him coming off the ACL. And one thing that I really look at is getting wasted plays off, especially the running backs, just because they got a heavy workload. But it was game one. We went in there with one thing on our mind. Mondre knew the deal. We let him roll, and he did his job. But that was kind of the mindset going in there. Hey, the hot hand's going to roll, and, he owned up to that role.
You mentioned the workload, but I think we heard from Ramondre right after the game, which was like, you were like, are you tired? And he goes, no, I got another quarter. Does that play a factor into his workload too?
No, I think honestly, he's just one of those guys that he wants to work. He knows he needs to work, and he shows up and works. So I'm not surprised he said that, but he'd have to prove that one to me.
Excuse me if this has already been asked, but him coming to you guys and saying he wanted to run downhill,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys, believing in what he saw and then allowing him to do that, what does it say about him?
Well, one, it shows you his mindset. That was at the end of the game. We were running some wide zone stuff. He said, "Hey, coach, I want to get downhill." So that's really just his mindset. And then I'm like, look, they're the ones out there playing the game. They have the feel for everything going on. If the big boy want to get downhill, then let's get downhill, which was nice because we finished the game with 4 runs straight downhill, 2 first downs.
Did you call off the top of your head the yards after contact that he had?
Yeah, it was 118, I think.
So you give him 118, so
yeah.
contacts, even if a guy swipes at him.
Well, technically that's PFF. Now, me personally, I ain't going to sit. I was telling my guys today, because there's a run, if you even get nicked, they're going to give you yards after contact. So I'm not going to go through and count it all up, but I know it was a lot. He made a lot of guys miss. So that's kind of one of those stats that can be a little bit deceiving, because I think AG had 20 yards on, and he had 17 yards rushing, but he had 20 yards after contact. You know what I mean? So I go by missed tackles. So I think he had 14. Yeah. I thought, yeah, it was yeah, for the room. It was 14 for the room. So that's the stat I look at, which that's impressive.
Taylor, when you're monitoring his workload during the week, what tools or information does the performance staff give you to say, okay, Ramondre's at this percent, and how you can balance that?
They keep track of all the yardage, like high-speed yardage and all that, and we have meetings where they'll give us feedback. But again, we got 3 backs that can play, so during the week at practice, doing a good job of rolling guys out so you ain't getting wasted plays. And again, it will all balance itself out as we go through the year. Like I said, game 1, we wanted to make a statement. I know Mondre wanted to make a statement, so he was out there toting the rock. Yeah.
In what ways have you seen him work on his conditioning so that he can handle this work?
It was funny yesterday. Like I told him, hey, you're going to have less reps this practice, and we switch offense, defense. But we had a period where we went offense to offense, and the number 1 offense is going out there, and Dre's running gassers at the other end of the field. I'm like, what are we doing, man? But he knows his body. He knows his conditioning. He knows what he needs to do. He's a vet in this league. So apparently he does extra conditioning on the side.
Well, this kind of goes with that, but what is it? How important is it to get him, even though he's not fully taking advantage of it, those veteran rest days and letting him kind of refresh?
Obviously that's important because it's a long season, especially for the running backs. I mean, you're taking, he had 25 carries, that's 25 times you're getting hit. So it obviously the rest stuff's important, but again, he needs to get the reps during practice so he can get a feel for some of the run game stuff.
You worked with Brees
Mm-hmm.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Ramondre's been a bit underrated, after just being around him this offseason, seeing what he could do?
Yeah, I mean, I remember him coming out of Oklahoma. I think that year there was 3 guys I really wanted, and he was one of those guys. And again, he's the kind of guy. He just wants to work. He wants to win. He doesn't care what other people think of him. But when you got the ability he has, and you go out there and make plays, that's when people start to notice. So again, motivation for him. We all know how good he can be. He's put it on film. Now you got to go out there and put it out week after week and go earn the respect.
What was it like when the Pats drafted him?
When they drafted him, well, we drafted Michael Carter before that, but I was happy for him, man. I was.
This challenge this week, it seems like significant to run the ball against Seattle defense. What have you seen in your study?
Well, I'll say this: they got a tough defense. Those guys fly around, especially the secondary guys. So my message to the running backs: hey, go out there, fight fire with fire, match their intensity, and then add some. So it'll be a good game. It'll be a fun game, the kind of game that our backs like. Again, a tough defense. They fly around. It looks like they're having fun in their new scheme on film. So shoot, go fight fire with fire.
How do you feel about how the backs have done in terms of pass protection, blitz pickup? Because obviously one of the things McDonald likes to do is where's the pressure coming from, and he finds a way to get free rushers, it seems.
I'll say this: none of our backs in our room are scared in protection. But you're right, they got a lot of eye candy. They'll bluff you one way, send something the other way. Been watching a lot of Baltimore film because he's coming from there. So, they got Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. But it's good because Seattle's trying to do the same stuff they do. We just got to bring our big boy pads this week and show up in protection. If we know what to do, they'll show up.
How good was it for you guys to be able to, in the offense, to put something on film? To see this is what we can do, guys, if we do this, this, and this.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big confidence booster, especially when you preach all off season, hey, we're going to run the ball, we're going to be good at running the football. So it's nice to go out there week 1 and put up, 170?
Yeah,
170 rushing. So obviously that feels good, but again, it's one game and clear. On to the next one. This league, you got to go out there and prove it week in, week out.
How about Ramondre? He talked about running outside. Then he said, "Give me the ball."
Yeah, he wanted to get downhill, and I don't blame him. And obviously that was the right call. But again, that's kind of the next step for him in terms of, going there, telling the coach what you're seeing. What do you want right now, especially with the game on the line? So I'm glad he did it, and obviously, he had a feel for something out there.
He's so quiet. What's it been like to get to know him?
Yeah, he's quiet, but in the meeting room, he's not so much. But again, part of him just growing up and owning the role of being one of those leaders. Not everyone's a vocal leader. Some guys are leaders by example, but he's starting to find that voice. And I think this year's a big year for him growing, not just production-wise on the field, but as a man and as a leader in the locker room.
Taylor, can you talk about David Andrews and what you've learned about him since you've been here?
Man, I love DA. First of all, respect anyone that can play as long as he has in his career. But just the detail, he's one of those guys, he's a communicator. He'll come to me, tell me some stuff that he's seeing. Huge for the whole offense, obviously one of our captains. But anytime you got someone that's been through the fire and been successful, giving you knowledge, you should listen. So I learn a lot from DA, on a weekly basis.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you.